Hey guys, welcome to the 11 o'clock program. What I'm going to do here, this isn't going to be so much of a feeding, but this is the other part of the job that aquarists always are familiar with. It's usually feedings and cleanings. This is a James River exhibit, and you'll see these barriers up here. We're going to take the barriers down. We leave these up. They'll be down when we're open so people can see the exhibit clearly, but otherwise we leave them up because the sturgeon have a tendency to jump. So I'm going to get in here and clean, and I'm going to show you why I'm going to do that. If you look along the bottom here, you see all this gravel has been mounded up, and it's because of the sturgeon. You can see one of the short-nosed sturgeon coming right at you. What they do is they use their barbels in front of their mouth to smell for food, and then they suck up gravel just like he's doing right here and kind of get particles out of it. Ordinarily they get invertebrates, crustaceans and stuff out of the bottom. So in here what they end up doing is pushing all the gravel all over the aquarium, and then it kind of exposes some of the filtration system, some of the rock work. You can see that black right there is actually the bottom of the tank. So I'm going to get in here. The first thing I want to do though is make sure I find the wood turtle, because the wood turtle really enjoys the activity and she'll get at my feet. So I'm going to find her real quick. Actually, she's over here on the small side. This is in two parts. This is called James River Shallow. There's our wood turtle right there. So the herpetology department takes care of. This is kind of a northern species, and so it's kind of at the northern Virginia is about the southern part of their range. And you can see she kind of looks like a tortoise a little bit, like a land turtle, but actually is very good underwater. It doesn't not the best swimmer in the world, but gets along really well crawling along the rocks, and is actually a very good climber. So now that I know she's over here, I'm going to get into the main part and start moving the gravel, scrubbing, stuff like that, and I'll talk about some of the fish in here. They're used to this, so if I move slowly, I won't freak them out too much. So if you come visit the aquarium, visit the museum, please don't do this. I appreciate that. So I'm going to start. I gotta locate the sturgeon too. They're right at my feet. They actually, instead of being scared by it, they'll kind of follow around and look for worms and things that I dig up. I'm going to move this big chunk of log here, get this out of my way, and our aquarium curator is filming this, so if you have any questions, she or I can answer it. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep going and talking. So I'm moving this gravel over and covering up some of the stuff they've already exposed. I'm going to work my way back here. This actually is kind of hard to do, so just give me a second.
Feel free to chime in with any questions you guys might have. Otherwise, just enjoy watching the fish, watching Chris clean the acrylic or the gravel.
So I don't know if you joined us a week ago. What's in here? These are in front of me are short-nosed sturgeon. They used to be relatively common in Virginia, along with the better known and much larger Atlantic sturgeon, but both have been almost completely fished out. These are from Hudson River stock. We got them when the museum opened. We have a question here.
Yeah, you know you're kind of already going through it, but Amber would like to know what type of fish are in this tank.
It's supposed to represent the James River, kind of an idealized version of the James River. And that's actually the title of the exhibit. So in the James River, sturgeon, striped bass, you see kind of swimming around here, white perch, yellow perch. There's some sunfish, which is kind of a wide group of species. It includes bluegill and red ears and black crappie. They're kind of hiding under the logs. See, I got another question?
Yes, Alexa wants to know how many fish are in the tank.
There's about 10 stripers, 2 hybrids, 4 sturgeon, maybe 5 yellow perch, a couple of, there's a bunch of smallmouth in here too. Go ahead.
Yes, Allison would like to know, how long do sturgeon typically live?
Sturgeon live a long time. They don't even reach sexual maturity until about 8 or 10, depending on where their range is. In the northern range, they tend to, whenever water's colder, fish tend to mature more slowly. So around here, 5 or 6 for females, 7 to 8 for males. They can live 30 or 40 years.
We don't have a question now, but Becky has a comment, which is cool, that she actually saw a sturgeon in Chickahominy River and it scared her dog.
Wow, that's neat. I don't think I've ever seen one in the wild. I've seen dead ones. We caught one at VIMS on the trawl survey, and I know Jack, who's associated with Britt here, works there now, and I think they've caught one recently. Go ahead.
Yes, Jerry would like to know, do they breed in there? And I assume the tank could cap out.
Well, yeah, that's a good question, actually, because the government owns these guys, so they're all pit tagged, identified, and believe it or not, I'm actually going to take this mask off because it's hard to yell and breathe at the same time. If they bred, we'd have to euthanize the babies, because for a couple of reasons. The government doesn't want any of these fish that were captive bred making it out into the wild for any reason. The other is that it's a completely closed kind of managed species by NOAA, and so they dictate when and where things can get bred, and so we just keep the ones we have here. They are mature. They are about 15 years old. We haven't noticed any breeding behavior, but they're anadromous, so the configuration of the exhibit may kind of prevent that. Go ahead, yeah.
We have a couple questions. How big will they grow? And where are they tagged? And you have a comment from Aaron saying that you are brave.
They are, I'm sorry, what's how long will they get?
How big will they grow and where are they tagged?
The largest one in here is about as big as they get. Somewhere around 3 feet, 3.5 feet, I think is the largest. They're tagged under their skin, kind of near their shoulder. So it's an internal tag, kind of like a little, you run a little scanner like you would at the grocery store, kind of run it over there, and it beeps, and then it has an electronic signature, and then you can know which one it is.
We have a question from Becky. What are you doing with your feet in the gravel?
I am moving the gravel because, I don't know if you heard this earlier, what they do, the sturgeon sift the gravel looking for food, and they push it all to one side. For some reason they've chosen that side over there to your right, and so I'm moving it all back, but they'll just do it again. We have to keep doing it or it'll end up exposing all the filtration system underneath, piling it all up. So it gets really bad because of the closure. We haven't been in here in a couple weeks, so the gravel's all over the place. There's bare spots. I got to do this whole thing. It's actually harder than it looks. It's kind of doing a little leg workout while I'm underwater. So I'm just going to keep moving this. I'm going to scrub some of these rocks. Most of the other fish have kind of gone to hide. You don't see a whole lot of them, but James River is actually kind of famous for smallmouth bass fishing. And there are smallmouth bass in here. They're probably way back in the back. They're relatively shy. They're smart, so they know to get out of the way. Like I said, these guys are all used to this, so it's not a big deal to them. Kind of a pain for us to do because it takes a while, and especially now we got so much to do. We have less staff here that it's hard to make the time to do something, do a big project like this. Just gotta keep going along here. So this exhibit's kept at about 67 degrees. These fish, as I said, are from Hudson River stock, which is up north. It's kind of a they're common down in South Carolina and some other rivers, but we found that they do better in colder water. Colder water generally keeps down disease, slows their metabolism a little bit, so we don't have to feed as often. You got another question?
Yeah, you actually just answered Aaron's question of is the water cold, but we have another, how large do the sturgeon grow?
I don't know if you heard it, there's one in here that's about maxed out. I think it's the one back here. So a little over 3 feet. They get 3 to 4 feet. You know, they get full grown around this age. These guys, like I said, are about 14 or 15 years old. So they're about as big as they're going to get. And of course, just like people, some are bigger than others. Go ahead.
How old as a species are sturgeon from Pamela?
Well, the short-nosed sturgeon are somewhere around 100 million years old. Other sturgeons have shown up over 200 million years old. It's been dated as much as 300, but the common kind of date is somewhere between 250 and 200 million years old. You know, when you get to kind of the modern versions of these guys, there's sturgeon all over the world. I don't know if you guys know this, but caviar comes from sturgeon. Beluga caviar is actually beluga sturgeon out in Russia and all that. That's where all the really expensive caviar comes in, and those get up to 20 feet. Go ahead, got another question?
Yes, Aaron would like to know, do the fish have teeth?
They do not have teeth. They have a real fleshy tube-like mouth. They do have a jaw structure, but they don't have what you would consider like teeth and a jawbone. You kind of see it. It's a really kind of producible, meaning extendable, fleshy tube in which they can kind of, as I don't know if you saw earlier, they sift gravel. They'll suck it up, and then the gravel comes out their gills. So they're essentially sifting for food in the gravel, and that's why I'm moving it, because they do that all day long, despite how much we feed them. So I'm just kind of feeling my way around here. I don't know how this looks. You want to give me some feedback here if you like?
I don't know, guys. What do you think? Does it look pretty level from here?
You see, we're filling this right now. We do a water change on this once a week. Do what's called a backwash, which is an automated reversal of the flow, where you flush out the sand filter, gets all the particulates out of here. So I'm going to start using some of my tools. I know this isn't perfect, but it's a work in progress. So we put a scrub brush on a stick so I can scrub the rocks like that. So I'm going to do that. But I'm also going to use my, kind of like this rake. This is kind of PVC on a stick, and lets me get to it so I don't have to stick my hands all the way down in here because I don't want to get soaking wet. Another question?
Brenda would like to know, what do they eat?
Well, in the wild, they eat benthic invertebrates, they sift detritus, they eat worms, crayfish, they eat fish if they got their mouths on it. I mean, they probably eat fish after they get either died or been injured or something like that. But we feed them kind of an optimized diet where we give them crayfish tail meat, smelt, a gel diet, freshwater fish like catfish or tilapia, and they also have we get a product called Shark and Ray Tab, which is a specifically blended for largely cartilaginous fish. Got another question?
Yes, repeat. Amber would like to know, she said, you said earlier that the fish were tagged. Where exactly are they tagged?
Okay, right about there. So that it's under the skin. So there's what's called a pit tag. It's a little, think of like a little tic tac. It's got a little transmitter in it. And then you can scan over the top of it.
It's like you would get for your dog or cat.
Yeah,
your dog or cat are pit tagged.
Yeah, so they put it in their neck. So like when your dog gets lost, you can scan it and it'll have a number, say 7985 or whatever, and it'll be tracked back to the owner. These guys, they can scan them, they each have their individual number. We have to do a report at the end of the year, and we have the numbers and make sure they line up, they're still alive, give it to NOAA, and then they can keep that on track. So they have a record of every single short-nosed sturgeon that was in their possession.
Chris, what are these big guys up front?
And by big, you mean obese. So if you're talking about this one right in front, that's a hybrid bass. So it's a hybrid between a white bass and a striped bass. So you see the striped bass right in front of them there, kind of skinnier. And you'll notice the striped bass actually have much more linear connected stripes. The hybrid bass kind of have a checkerboard pattern, and they are known for being chunkier, kind of a heavier bodied fish. And they're actually not native to the James River, but it's kind of a good, just if we have it for a reason you asked that question, it's a good educational tool. I got another question?
Yes, Gray, age 9, would like to know how the sturgeon got their name Sturgeon.
All right. Someone had to stump me. Who was that?
Gray, age 9.
Gray, you stumped me. I don't know. I'm sure I don't know what the origin of the word is. You're going to have to look that up. The internet will tell you that, I'm sure. I do not know that. Good question. You got me. So they also move the stuff back here too. You'll see some of the other fish coming out. They get way back in the back under this.
Chris, how big is this exhibit?
This exhibit is about 4,000 gallons. We do about, I'd like to say we try and do a 10% water change on it every week. So it's about 15 by 11 feet. As you can see, maybe 3 feet deep. It's a little lower than it ordinarily would be because, like I said, we are doing as we speak, we're doing the filtration system as well. So I'm going to keep moving this around, and this will probably get cloudier and cloudier, but if you notice, it's not getting all that cloudy because that'll show you how well the aquarium team keeps the exhibit up. Is we're not stirring up a whole lot of dirt, even though I'm moving around just about everything there is to move in here. So this is the kind of the time where we take some of these logs and rocks and reset them, try and get them because the fish move them around as they live in here. Yeah, I got another question?
Yes, Caitlin Flagg would like to know how often do you change out the water in the tank?
We do. Each one of these exhibits, we try and do once a week. Same thing with this one. So, the aquarium department does not get in here every week. We do scrub it. We scrub the interior of the acrylic every day, do the outside for fingerprints, do the water change once a week, and we monitor the water quality with the chemistry, mainly the nitrogen cycle once a week as well, so we can keep up with how well the tank is cycling. Go ahead.
Yes, Becky would like to know, do their dorsal fins have spines?
They do not. They do not have spines. They're kind of soft. All their dorsal parts are soft. And people often ask, are they related to sharks, which is kind of smart. They both have what's called a primitive body plan, meaning most ancient sharks that haven't, quote unquote, evolved or advanced, like advanced bony fishes, have the one dorsal up top, like a shark does, and then what's called a heterocircle tail, meaning asymmetrical. So the top of the tail is a longer lobe, so it looks like a shark fin, and then three pairs on the bottom. Go ahead, another question?
Yes, Caitlin Flagg would like to know, have you had a fish jump out of the tank while people were visiting?
Yes, that is an excellent question. We have. And so it's kind of a tough thing where, we want everybody to enjoy these animals, so don't want to have the barriers up, but nothing keeps people from sticking their hands in there. Patricia's filming right now. She could just stand up there and stick their hands and touch the sturgeon. It's one of the reasons we tongue feed them instead of hand feed them, so they don't get used to coming up to hands. Otherwise, they'd come up when people stuck their hands in there, but you see, they like to come up right at the surface. So sturgeon are well-known jumpers. There's probably video online of sturgeon jumping out of the water. I've seen it once or twice from the Jamestown Ferry, and they can jump pretty far. So these guys do jump out. We started out with a dozen, and over the years when they were smaller, they used to jump a lot more. These guys have kind of learned, but we also have volunteers. We rely heavily on volunteers, and they'll walk by here and they know to look, they know what exhibits to kind of keep an eye on, and this is one of them. So one of them doesn't end up on the floor. It's also really close to the front desk, so our front desk crew can also kind of, they know to just essentially throw them back in and call the aquarium staff so we can monitor them. But they're pretty tough. They've been around, not these particular fish right here, but sturgeon have been around for hundreds of millions of years, so they're survivors. So they're pretty tough all in all. The only thing that can harm them is pretty much human beings overfishing them or destroying their habitat. So I know I'm going kind of long here, so I'm gonna let you guys get back to it. I'll be in here for a while, so next time you see it, or next time you come in, I hope you come by and see this exhibit in a different light, but make sure you don't get into the tank, please. This is restricted to staff only, plus it's cold, and you won't have waders on. So tomorrow we got kind of all these are interesting, I think, but have a kind of a special one because it's Easter. We got to have the Easter bunny, not the actual Easter bunny if there is one, but I'm going to take out rabbits, or at least one program rabbit, and do an enrichment, and may even go on an Easter egg hunt with the rabbit, so that'll be kind of neat. So that'll be 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Join us on Facebook and check out our schedule for the latest. Join us on TikTok, all our other online outlets. You can check out our natural education series, which our ed staff does a great job of. And we appreciate your watching, and please consider donating to our emergency fund, just like about everybody else. We're a nonprofit. We're doing the best we can to keep the place running and going, but it's tough without you guys being here. So visit the VLM.org for details on that, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.